falling off the agenda, I fell off a cliff. I was down at COP. The United States was a footnote. China sent close to 800 delegates. The United States didn't even send a stenographer. They sent nobody. They've completely walked away, abdicate any role in relationship to the issue of low carbon, green growth. President Xi is celebrating.
Governor Newsom, what are you doing to fight the U.S. federal government's reversal on climate policies?
I'm showing up. And look, Donald Trump is doubling down on stupid. California has been a leader in climate policy going back to Ronald Reagan. 1967, Governor Ronald Reagan established the first tailpipe emissions in the United States of America, created the California Air Resources Board. 3 years later, a president by the name of Richard Nixon, another Republican, codified California's leadership under the Clean Air Act. Never in the history of the United States of America has there been a more destructive president than the current occupant in the White House in Washington, D.C. He's trying to recreate the 19th century. He's a wholly owned subsidiary of big oil, gas, and coal. He's quite literally reopening coal plants in the United States of America. He's received close to $500 million in campaign contributions. He asked for $1 billion, look it up, in return for basically eliminating all regulations in the United States of America. De facto, he just did that yesterday with federal regulations and the endangerment finding. It is code red in terms of American leadership in this space. Low carbon, green growth. And I know a thing or two about this. I represent the 4th largest economy from a GDP perspective in the world. And we ran the 4th largest economy last year, 9 out of 10 days on 100% clean energy. 2/3 renewable energy. We've seen our GDP grow by 81% since 2000, and we've reduced our greenhouse gas emissions by 21%. 7 times more clean energy jobs than fossil fuel jobs. We're proving at scale that we can implement, we can compete, and we can dominate. But Donald Trump is trying to turn back the clock. And so we're showing up, but we're also showing what can be accomplished, the power of emulation. We are in the great implementation in my state. Final word. I hope, if there's nothing else I can communicate today, Donald Trump is temporary. He'll be gone in 3 years. California is a stable and reliable partner in this space. And it's important for folks to understand the temporary nature of this current administration in relationship to the issue of climate change and climate policy.
But Governor, many have called Joe Biden the climate president, but that didn't help with his re-election. So how important do you think climate issues will be back for the 2028 presidential election?
Well, you may not believe in science, but you got to believe your own eyes. I mean, people are burning up, choking up, heating up. We have simultaneous droughts and floods. Historic wildfires. You know maybe little about California. You've seen those images of these wildfires. Talk about being as dumb as we want to be. Places, lifestyles, tradition, being wiped off the map. Greenville, Paradise, California. And so this issue has been brought home in a very personal way, not a political way. And Senator Whitehouse is here. He's also someone that deeply understands that climate risk is financial risk. It's becoming uninsurable. This is an economic issue, not just a moral issue. It's not just a competitiveness issue. And so it's incredibly important that we talk in those terms to address some of the political dynamics. But it's, again, something we're on the other side in California. It's a big blue state, but also has more Republicans than most Republican states. And we have long moved beyond the partisanship on this issue because there is no Republican thermometer, there's no Democratic thermometer. There's just reality. And people in my state have been mugged by reality. Those that have been in denial understand that we're on the other side of the debate.
Governor, you said everything would change in 3 years. The global climate community, I think, has lost faith in the U.S.'s ability to support climate action. Yep. So if you were to become president, maybe the next president, what would you do to restore trust in U.S. actions?
Well, look, my job today, my day job is governor of California. By the way, to put it in perspective, the size of 21 U.S. state populations combined, California. And as a consequence, when we move at scale. And we talk about the power of emulation, this notion that success leaves clues. We're, again, no longer asserting our capacity to change the way we produce and consume energy. We're actually proving it can be done and see our economy thrive as a consequence of it. We have enshrined in law, in the spirit of what you just said, our goals through a cap and invest program through 2045. So we have doubled down in terms of a consistent regulatory framework, by the way, that has invited in tens of billions of dollars of investment in this space, 60 ZEV manufacturer supply chains moving in the state of California. All the R&D in electric vehicles dominantly is in my home state. We set the first goals for 100% zero emission vehicles by 2035. Of course, Trump administration has vandalized that, but we jump-started. That investment was 29% in the last quarter of all new car purchases. So we're continuing to move, continuing to thrive. And so the point is subnational in the context of your prior point, because folks haven't walked away globally. And I don't think this, I know this. I happen to co-chair the MOU Under 2 Coalition, where we have folks from all across the world at the state level that don't care about the prevailing winds at the federal level, that are in the how business, that are working and implying these ideals, working with business, not just working with governments to move forward. So that gives me confidence. I know 3 years is a long time, but it gives me confidence that we continue to weather the storm. Final point, it's what Andrew said. The ultimate confidence is the ultimate gauge, and that is the ROI. He's making the business case at scale. This is one of the largest miners on planet Earth. It's about to save $1 billion a year in energy costs because he gets it and he gets things done.
Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers are actually producing high-quality vehicles at lower price than U.S. competitors, right? Given California's 2035 zero-emission vehicle mandate, do you believe the state can realistically meet those targets without access to Chinese EVs?
Well, if there's any state that can, it's California. But look, my state of mind, let's clarify. 70% of global EVs are coming from China. And it's statecraft for them. It's about supply chains. It's about influence. It's about dominance. These guys aren't screwing around. I say this with admiration. They're flooding the zone in Europe. They're flooding the zone in South America. I mean, what Donald Trump just did yesterday with the endangerment finding by basically eliminating any federal regulations, not just on power plants, methane, but also tailpipe emission, I think was writing a death sentence to legacy American automobile manufacturers. Mm-hmm. You talk about innovation. It's been California's regulation in this space that's driven manufacturing innovation that allows American automobile manufacturers to be competitive globally. It's no longer just cheap. I mean, sure, the BYD Lamborghini Mini, it's $9,700. They're no longer just, now they're doing 5-minute chargers. Fill up your SUV. It's about 5 minutes. It's the tech stack that comes on top of it. And it's a whole generation of young folks. Don't bet against young folks. They bat last, they bat 1,000. We know where the market's going. China gets it. Look at their GDP growth last year. Where was their GDP growth disproportionately? It was in the clean energy space. This is about economic prosperity and competitiveness. And that's why I'm so infuriated with what Donald Trump has done. It's our fiercest competitor moving forward, China, in this space. So California is it. It's the only game left in the EV space. Again, because of the intense investment in R&D. Remember, Tesla exists for one reason: California's regulatory market, which created the incentives and the structure and the certainty that allowed Elon Musk and others to invest and build that capacity. We are not walking away from that. In fact, again, we have doubled down and extended our nation-leading efforts through 2045.
How will you get to those targets by 2035?
We have a plan. We call it a scoping plan. Every 5 years, the California Air Resources Board puts it out. It's interesting, in that plan, just in the spirit of innovation, California has the second largest installed utility-scale batteries in the world, China and the state of California. That wasn't in our last scoping plan. It was technology that we didn't even envision in our previous scoping plan. So we put out detailed 5-year plans. Every single target California has advanced, we have exceeded. Every single one, proving the point. I know there's sort of this theories that it's just goal setting and that we can never achieve these goals or they're just stretch goals. Quite the contrary. I think the biggest mistake in the spirit of Michelangelo is that the biggest risk is that we, aim too low and reach it as opposed to aim too high and miss it. And that's California's mindset, and it has to be, again, in order for us to compete in this next big global market.
Thank you all. We have 15 minutes, so we go to questions from the floor. The first question, I'd love to invite the Munich young leader, Ryan Oliveira de Aguirre Atias, to ask the first question. And then could I see just a very quick show of hands so that I go around the room? We have someone on the second, and then first row, and then one on the right. But here, let's start with Ryan. If there's a microphone, there you go, right here on the aisle seat.
Hi, thank you so much. So my name is Rayane. I'm from the state of Pernambuco in northeast Brazil. And I've been quite happy to follow the discussion today and very honored to be the first Munich young leader to ask the question. So while national diplomacy is failing to tackle climate change, subnational diplomacy is moving forward. But not every state is as powerful and rich as California. So I come from a very poor region in Brazil, where fighting climate change means improving people's access to urban infrastructure, clean water, food security, health public services. So I guess my question is how the international community can help subnational governments and local climate action to move forward and making sure that resources are really getting to that level. And how do you see the future of climate finance in this context that we're facing now, where powerful countries are diverting international aid into defense?
When I was in Belém, we signed 22 MOUs with 22 states in Brazil. And the MOUs are not pieces of paper, they're commitments from the state of California to provide technical assistance and to provide resources and a resourceful mindset, meaning an openness to engage in problem solving. Let me give you a specific example. The modern environmental movement in the United States, again, started in California under Ronald Reagan. Not because Ronald Reagan was a fierce champion of clean air and clean water until he had to be. Los Angeles was so smoggy that businesses were complaining to the governor saying, we can't do business here. So he decided to do something about it with tailpipe. And that's exactly why Donald Trump just said, pollute the hell out of the United States. That's called deficit spending. Pollution is an act of theft in the health of a nation and the cleanup costs. You saw all this, just in the United States of America alone, 23 weather-related events last year that cost the taxpayers over $1 billion. We are, again, as dumb as we want to be. Don't tell me this is about saving money. Quite the contrary. But it was interesting, and this is the point. The folks in China paid some attention. We established relationships with China. They send technical teams, and literally some of their low-carbon green growth specific to their cap and trade programs came from the example of California and the work we did. And Beijing is proof positive of a lot of that technical assistance and support. So that's at scale the kind of work we do in terms of this relationship, nationally, subnationally, people to actually solve problems despite, again, who's in office in a particular jurisdiction.
Thank you. So, yeah, go ahead.
Gavin Newsom, hi. Lutika Burke from Andrew Forrest's Native Australia. You speak about reclaiming leadership on climate change after temporary Donald Trump. But one of the things we're observing about the US from the outside, at least, is actually there's a lot of timidity to push back on anything that Trump is rewriting. So where is your confidence that you can lead the United States people to this debate and putting Humpty Dumpty back together again if you can?
Well, people better buck up, wake up. I mean, I made some pretty aggressive comments in Davos. I think I handed out knee pads on stage for, corporate leaders, sold out universities, law firms in my country that are selling out. You just got to call this stuff out. Look, the polluted heart of the climate crisis is big oil, period, full stop. That's what this is all about. I mean, that's where the politics, that's where the timidity comes from. You talk about the tech stack. You can't get in one of these modern new vehicles and ever want to go back to the old gas guzzler. I mean, the technology, and we can talk in terms of just energy efficiency and how we bring down costs, and we've got to address those cost issues. But the biggest problem is the deceit and the denial that's happening because of these special interests. And so you just have to have the courage to call it out. And I agree with you. It's infuriating what I hear privately, but is not expressed publicly. And so we have to call people out. They'll be held to account. They will be judged and ultimately judge themselves. And I think this is a moral moment, across the board, simultaneous crisis, not just climate, but democracy. All this stacking of stress. And we all have a relationship to it. Society becomes how we behave. We are our behaviors. And so all of us have a role to play. All of us have agency. We can shape this conversation, but we have to stand up with more clarity, conviction, and we have to be more consistent.
People don't speak up because they're afraid of retaliation.
Yeah. Well, buck up. So am I. There's probably not a politician in the United States. I mean, I'm under assault attack by this guy every single day. Here's the President of the United States. He's 80 years old, and he's calling me a nickname that an 8-year-old called me, New Scum. The President of the United States. You saw the racist tropes he put out. This is the President of the United States of America. Call this guy out. Stop this timidity. Stop with the BS diplomacy. You're in the rearview mirror. The recklessness of our own actions. And we're all becoming Chamberlains in this space. We have a supine United States Congress, so we have to stand up. Corporate leaders have to stand up. People have to stand up.
That is really something
so
I said very strongly to endorse your point, Governor, very strongly to the corporate leaders all across Davos, across the world.